Welcome to the Making Money in the Music Business podcast, where we share insightful views on a variety of topics in the music industry that can help you make more money from your music business. And now, here are your hosts, Dr. William E. Smith and Kenya McGuire Johnson. Welcome to the Making Money in the Music Business podcast. This is actually our first episode, and we'll be talking about a lot of different topics covering the music business. And your hosts for this podcast are yours truly, Dr. William E. Smith, and my close friend and colleague, Kenya McGuire Johnson.
Yay. Hello. I'm really excited. I'm excited, Will. I'm excited to do this. This is our very first one. We should have some applause in the background. Wow.
Awesome. Yeah. That would sound nice. So what we're trying to do on this first podcast is go through some concepts on being ready to record and being ready to put your recording out, and also being ready to just start your business as an artist.
Yeah, because if you're going to start recording, that means obviously you want somebody to hear it, right? Right. So yep. Yeah. So you got to think of all those things. So yeah. So when you recorded, the first thing that you ever recorded, did you feel like you knew what you were doing? Your first official recording?
No, I didn't, but I was bound and determined. It was more like a serious drive to get this thing done, and I knew I wasn't even at the level that I wanted to be at as a musician to record, but I just was bound and determined to get this recording done.
Yeah.
And it's strange now that I think back to it, because I was doing a jazz recording, and there's a lot of stigma and, just confidence issues that people have doing a regular recording, let alone a jazz recording.
That's the case all the way around, because
the expectation, what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but I did it, and it was back in a day where, you couldn't record, you didn't have all these digital audio workstations and things at your house. Mm-hmm. So I did it in a regular studio, and tried to mix it the best way I could. I listened to recordings that I wanted to sound like, and I just told the engineer,
you were your
this
own.
is what I wanted.
I was about to say you were your own mixer. Okay, you had an engineer, but you just.
I had an engineer who did mix it, and I went to another guy to master it.
Okay.
At I think it was at Chuck Levin's. He was another guy that was working there, and he did mastering. So I did it the conventional route, and it was that experience that told me that, hey, I can actually do this.
It gave you confidence. That is so good you said that, because that's exactly how I felt. I felt I had no idea what I was doing the first time I was recording. My expectations were probably negative, I don't know, 10, 20%. But because I really didn't know at that time. I was actually, the first time I recorded, I was just eager to record one song. That was all I wanted. I just wanted a single. I just wanted one song. And, so yeah, once I recorded one song, it actually, and I heard it back, and, I did work with an engineer as well, a producer, and, and he showed me the magic of, if you do this right, wow, that actually sounded
right.
And so, yeah, it did boost my confidence. And that's actually then what pushed me to go ahead and do a whole EP, because then I felt like, okay, I might be able to do this,
Right.
Yeah.
Well, what were some of the challenges that you would say that were coming up and that you had to overcome for your recording process?
The first time I recorded, because I was so young and blind in this, I really didn't know next steps. Like, I felt like every kind of moment, I'm like, okay, so now what am I supposed to do? Okay, now, all right, so we're going to record. And, what I did for my first recording, I again, I had somebody with me who he really was just handling the tracking. So I'm going to say he's more a sound engineer. He was trying to kind of give me a little direction vocally here and there, but he wasn't a singer, and that wasn't, his real space. He was just making sure the track was lined up, But so then I went in and I did my own key. I had to play the keys for myself. And come in, with that part. And this is when I tell people this is also, I would say these were more kind of scratch versions, kind of demo. I just needed to come up with more of a demo of the songs themselves. And then once I could get like a solid demo together, I knew I was directed. And this is what I mean by I had no clue. I was directed that, okay, now you've got at least something on recording. Now it's time to actually really get somebody in here, a producer, to help you really make this, the parts and the arrangements be really full and, better. So.
Yeah, that's what I think is actually different with recording jazz and recording produced music like R&B or neo soul or something like that. Actually, my recording process was pretty simple. It wasn't the people, the sound engineers, the mixers. They knew, of course, how to record the live instruments, so that where to place the mics and all that stuff. And so for me, it was actually a pretty simple process. It was just rehearsing the band the band knew the music.
That's what I was going to say. I have done a jazz EP as well, and it was a very different process. I was going to say that it was a very, very different process because it was all live instrumentation. It was all live recording. We were all in the room together. It wasn't like the bass player mailed in his, flew in his track and the other, which is what's more common, even when you're using live instruments at least for soul and R&B. But yeah, for jazz, we needed it to be as organic and, everybody to be locked in. And I was exhausted. So you talk about readiness. If those that are listening, recording, it wears me out. Like I don't know if it's just because of my kind of perfectionism or whatever, but it is, for me, it's grueling. So that readiness, are you ready to record? It goes beyond just, do I have a studio? Do I have, is my song wrote? I mean, there is a stamina and your craft is going to get tested, at least as singers. The way you sing in a recording is very different than the way you sing when you perform
live. Yep. Exactly.
It's a very different, and different in so many ways. And so I know a lot of times you'll say, oh, that person, they sound so good. Their studios, their record version or that, whatever, they sound so good. But live, oh, my God, it was a mess. Or you'll hear people say, oh, my God, live, they were amazing. But their album is just okay.
Right.
Yeah. And it's because, and that happens, I would say, a strong 80 to 90% of the time, because it is a different technique for both,
Yeah, I think that the best albums actually are the ones where you do capture that live element at some level in terms of the performance, either from the singer or the instrumentalist, whatever. It's that organic feel that people sort of respond to.
Absolutely.
And doing my recordings, the subsequent recordings from the first one I did, I was doing the recording. So yeah, I wrote the music. I rehearsed the band.
So you were really exhausted.
You want to talk about level of exhaustion? Good Lord.
So we really hope that people are paying attention to this, because there's a lot of moving parts when you need to decide if you're ready to record. So ready to record, again, doesn't always just mean, I wrote this song. There's just so many elements that go into recording. And I do think that, though, if you are trying to really get into your music and be a practicing musician and really break into the music industry, obviously you have to have recording. So, so what would you say then for that person then who is trying to decide, am I ready to do this? What are some things then that they should be asking themselves, or
well, on the
sure
basic level, do they have material to record? So do you have songs that you can record? If not, are you going to use cover songs? And that's fine. But then now you have to pay for the licenses and all that stuff.
Right.
So it's decide what it is that you want to record.
That's a real big point.
And it's either way, it's fine. It doesn't matter if you don't have songs. You can just do other people's music, but just be sure and yet you have the funds to put that together. And also, if you're just going to put a recording out just to put a recording out and not sell it, then you might not even need the licensing at that point, at that immediate point. But once you start to sell something, that's when licenses come in.
Right. So now you're bringing up some good points. This is good. And I know we're not going to be here forever. We don't have all day. We need a whole day to talk about it. But this is good because what are you recording for? And that will help also determine whether or not you're ready. So if you're recording because you're just trying to get yourself out there, you need to have some kind of reference, so people can hear you. They used to call that a demo. I don't know what you call it now, but meaning I'm not selling this. This is just more a demonstration or whatever of what, how I sound and my style and all that good stuff. And it's still important, for, those beginning people trying to get out and, being able to have music out there. I think that SoundCloud, that's kind of what got them, popular is you could just jump on SoundCloud and literally use it like GarageBand and just start recording, some of your vocals and then boom, it's public and people can hear it. So you do have to, in your readiness, you got to at least be asking those questions. Am I trying to do something that's just so that I can kind of have somebody be able to hear me? I'm not trying to make money yet. I'm not trying to sell it, versus maybe that person like, no, I really want to have a CD or I want to have a full project. And I want to get this, I want to be that. I want to be that artist that, has my first work. So.
Yeah, and I would encourage people to record anyway. Just record yourself as much as possible, because you get a chance to hear yourself on recording, right? And that in itself is a lesson,
a scary lesson,
a scary lesson.
Yeah.
And the more you do it, the more comfortable you are with the actual recording process and being in front of a microphone, and you know that your sound is being captured for posterity. So these type of things, it's good to practice that. So I would say it's more so not, are you ready to record? Are you ready to release something or record something that you're going to release to the public as a final product, as something that's a document of your talent and ability.
Right. And then that's how we then kind of get into the financials of all of this, because my philosophy has been, and I gained this philosophy from being mentored and taught and associated with just really amazing musicians and educators in music, whether that be vocal coaches or producers or whatever, who just really pushed and urged me to always, be at your best that you can be. So in other words, that's not just singing this song like Whitney or something like that. not just in your craft, but your best in your business, your best in your understanding of the process of this. And so I do think that readiness, you need to check, because we are talking about more of the financial space, which means then, yes, ultimately this is something that you would want to publish or release. You really need to, invest in this time-wise as well as at least financial, in a way that you're going to have a solid project. And, things have changed very quickly in the sound industry and recording industry. And so, no, you don't have to go to the big old studios nowadays that, charge you, I don't know what per hour, where you can fit, an 8-piece violin section or whatever. I mean, you don't need all of that, but you do need to, at least if you yourself, and particularly this is the case for I think a lot of singers, if you yourself don't know how to manipulate and, make sure sound and mixing is right, you need to get somebody who knows what the heck they're doing. That's
actually on every level of your business.
Yeah.
You always, and that's why rich folk get richer, because they're able to hire people to handle certain jobs for them, and they're maximizing their productivity.
Yep.
So there was another podcast actually that I listened to. I'm trying to remember which one I heard this from, because I listened to a bunch of them. But they were talking about paying somebody to do the jobs that, number one, you don't have the expertise to do, but also would free up your time and schedule to do the things that you're good at.
Exactly.
and that's really what it is. And that's all about how you to do that, you have to have a budget and have the funds available to do that. Yep. I was on the other end of that. That's how I know how to do everything, because I just said, I don't have any money. I was a college student.
Right.
So, I didn't have any funds to do anything. So I just did it and learned the process while I was in the middle of it. Right. And I was blessed. That's the other thing. There's divine intervention. When you ask a question, the Most High is going to give you an answer, and you got to be ready to listen. Yeah. And I had great people around me that I just was able to meet and come in contact with and learn from. So that's how I was able to get that information that I needed to get and do the projects that I needed to do.
Yeah. No, everything, I would say most artists at this stage, nobody is running with, these millions. I mean, you do have some that, do have, access to money or what have you. But I think most artists in the beginning, whether it be because they're students, and still trying to kind of get in this game, or they're maybe they're switching out of a career or whatever. But most people just don't have this pot of money just sitting up, let's make. So I do think that, a big thing that I push, this word, big, 2 words, patience, patience, and development. Like you have to develop. And so your first recording prayerfully is not your best. I really hope it's not, because it's really it's kindergarten. You know what I mean? It's first grade, meaning you're just kind of getting yourself started in it. So, don't be too hard on yourself. Most times when you're hearing something on the radio and you're hearing this like, oh my God, that was amazing. While it is maybe their first major release or the first time you're hearing it,
it's not their first recording.
Yes, 9 times out of 10, it is not the first time they put a mic, up in a studio. It's just they had finally gotten to the space where financially they were ready. Like you just said, you're working with people that know what they're doing, and so that's ready. The craft has been elevated and developed. And that's what you're really hearing. And unfortunately, I think with the way social media is now and our access to so much, and we see things go viral, and we make the assumption that, I should be able to go out and do that too. I should be able to my first music video, I should have, 10,000 views the first day,
Right.
Nobody knows you, boo. Like, that's not how it goes. So just understand that this is a process. And so when you're looking at your readiness, you may not feel all that ready, but sometimes this is where you just mentioned that divine intervention. You have to take those leaps of faith and at least get yourself out there, so that, because that will begin to reveal more information. If you just always stay guarded and always say, I'm not ready, you're really not allowing yourself to get more information. And you'll get, if you go in there and you start going, or you start doing, and you start, you're listening back. Okay, I'm not ready. Or I need to, I need to do this more, or I need to do that more. Or you go in and it's like, I'm more ready than I thought. So I can, and I know that was the case for me. I was more ready than I thought.
Yeah, and I think that is the case in general. I think people are ready, but it's at what level are you ready, and what are you going to put out? So I think it goes back to what we just said, that being ready to record is everybody's pretty much ready to record. You need to record like every day. But are you ready to release a public recording, a finalized recording, a mastered recording that's going to be going into posterity? That's a different question. So, and you're always developing your level of readiness. And,
we're just using the same words over and over. Yeah. I mean, they just support each other back and forth, but
they do.
You're
they
right.
Do.
You're right. You're so
they
right.
They do. And practicing is a whole another conversation. Like my first, just every jazz recording that I did, I had hours and hours of practice, personal practice, because I didn't want to sound terrible on my recording. And it was just, and
I think
that,
like with jazz, I mean, because there is such a, you're not. You better practice, because it's an art form. It's like, you really have to take time with that.
It's like you're being judged every time someone listens to your recording. Well, it kind of is,
because the expectations are very high when it comes to jazz. I would say that the expectation is very high, and and also most people, I think, who are jazz enthusiasts, they may not play that instrument, but their ear is very sensitive to intricacy, and it's very sensitive to complexity. So, and it can be too complex, and people tune out, or it can be understated, which doesn't, give it enough. So that's a hard space. There's a reason why, the jazz musicians, the greatest. It's not like we got this long list. Like it's a pretty small list. And
it's also a reason why a lot of jazz musicians have issues.
Yes, no, you're right. They go crazy in the process. But I think that's all musicians. Because it goes back to what we just started with, the deep thought with the whole perfection issue.
Yes. Yes.
So it's, we are a little batty, because when we don't play things right, and particularly for, I think, instruments, you hit a wrong note. It's very glaring. A vocalist can kind of riff their way a little bit through it, maybe fall off, and kind of switch up the song.
Or Patti LaBelle that joint and bend it.
Bend it over to the left, where, and the reverse is the same too, in that, an instrument, if I blow correctly and hit the right fingering on the key, a E is a E is a E is a E. Whereas a singer, I may have a cold, I may have, I didn't take enough breath in, and so, and then all the other things that go along with the voice. That E could easily not be anywhere near that. So, it's tough. It's tough on both ends, but I just know, because we're talking about money, and, I do think that what you said, as far as, the real question is, are you ready, to release? And because releasing it and publishing it is what's financially going to, be a different kind of picture investment wise, and it's going to be a different kind of picture in terms of return. So
and I think now there are a lot of other options available to help you fund your recording, and especially a lot of people don't, but some people have good credit, and if you have good credit, you can actually leverage that into getting some other finances to help you with your recording. And actually, if people want to find more information about that, they can go to my website. It's a quick plug. They can go to my website.
Yeah, we need to get that in. I was just going to say, Dr. Smith, where can we find out more information about that?
You can go to makingmoneyinthemusicbiz.com, and it's actually right there on the front page. You can find out more about that funding information for your music business, and also, if you don't have good credit, the company that I'm affiliated with, we've basically, they're working with me to help bring people in to develop their business. They can help you actually get your credit, improve your credit. So
that's awesome. I hope that people
yeah.
really paid attention to that because, obviously money is real. And if you are in a situation where you really, really are feeling very passionate and ready, to start recording, but the money thing is the only thing blocking you, make sure you check out, the site that he just mentioned. I'm going to have him repeat it again and stuff because, you there are opportunities to get some funding. And, those of you who have a main job, like I had a main career, not a job. Mm-hmm. I had a career, a really active career as a physical therapist. And, what I did was, as opposed to trying to get outside funding, my husband and I had a come to Jesus family meeting and we sat down and we really got very honest about our dreams, as a couple, but also my dreams as an individual. And really got honest about financially, what are these, things that we must have, and what are these things that we're just kind of, just maybe buying, and so we were able to come up with a financial plan within our family. So that meant that I had to still, work while I was recording, and it was a lot, but there are strategies and there are ways. And just like you offered, Will, the site for the funding, if you're trying to create like a blueprint and trying to kind of just figure this out, vent, talk it out, write some things, get some charts going and stuff. My business, the Creating Crimson business that I own, it's titled Creating Crimson. I focus on artist development and I'm kind of like a life coach for musicians. So I will also sit down and kind of help you. Let's look at our life for a minute and see kind of how does this fit in, and how can we make it fit in? How can we make it work?
So you're basically doing what you did with your husband, helping basically do a financial plan and draw up a picture of what it would look like for them to do their career.
Yep, absolutely. And and everybody's situation is different. So that, it is like a blueprint, meaning it's going to be unique to you. And it's not me getting into I'm not going to ask for bank statements. No, we're not doing all that. But I just need to get, it's just getting an idea of where your head is at. And, a lot of times when we process and speak out loud and really start to kind of visualize, make visuals of what's happening, a lot gets revealed of how we need to move. Yeah.
So what's your site?
My site is creatingcrimson.com. Very easy, creatingcrimson.com. And when you go to the site, you'll be able to see our services. We got videos. We have some really, really amazing events coming up that are all listed on the site. Our largest event, and yes, I'm going to do this plug because this is a big event, is what we're doing is called Art Voices, and it's art, A-R-T. Somebody thought I was saying hour the other day, but it's Art Voices Matter. And Art Voices Matter is basically just an artist, it's a celebrity artist masterclass series. So I'll be talking about this weekly, don't worry, but just go to artvoicesmatter.com for that. But creatingcrimson.com gives even the link for that and gives links also for Dr. Will Smith on here. He's on that website too, so you'll be able to click. If you can't find him, you can find him at Creating Crimson as well.
Yeah. That's the beauty of building relationships. We all have folks that we become close to over all these years after doing all this music and
it's amazing how life does that. I know we would not have thought that this would turn into this when when we saw each other years ago. No. And I do want to say that we do have there's a third consulting coach too that Creating Crimson. Her name is Stephanie Heron, and she's an artist as well. Her artist name is Nia Land. So if you go again to creatingcrimson.com, you can click on her as well because we're trying to give people different options. So.
Yeah. And also, one last plug, my book is available. I'll provide links to that with this podcast, but it's also on the website, makingmoneyinthemusicbiz.com. So if you want a book to help you help guide you through this process, that's many years of different experiences, and I basically mapped it out to where if you follow the book through, you can build your business in the music business. Basically, you can have a functioning.
That is
business.
Amazing. Are you guys listening? That is amazing. I mean, really, because I think that happens a lot for artists. It's like, where's the book that tells me how to, so.
and that was the thing for me, because I teach music business classes. I've been teaching it for, goodness, maybe I've been teaching that class for like almost 12 to 15 years.
Wow.
And most of the books about music business, they're either not clear on how to structure your own business. They're not entrepreneurial in nature, or they're law and legal focused. They're all about contracts. And
that gets really over your head.
Oh, that gets dry real fast. So it doesn't give you any clue on how to actually put together your own business as a musician, as an artist, from whatever angle. So if you just want to be a performing musician, a side musician, studio musician, or whatever, if you get my book, you'll be able to map that out. If you want to be a recording artist, you get the book and map it out. So that was the whole idea, and the impetus behind me making that book, is because no one gave you a map on how to build your own business, what it looks like from a business perspective, So, yeah.
That is fantastic, because I definitely have had to build my own map, and I don't know. I think north might be east on my map. No, but I'm getting it together now. I think north is in the right. I think the compass lines up, but take advantage of that, and because this is a business, and that may have to be our, if not next, but one of our podcasts is, why in fact is this a business? Why is this? How is this a business? Because I think that, we get caught up, and you should, because music is beautiful, and music is very, soulful and part of the spirit.
A lot of emotions.
It's very emotional. And so it can be, but you can't lead your business, in that, in that emotional space. Like you gotta use your mind too. So,
yep.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay.
Great. Well, this was a great first podcast, and we covered a lot of great topics, and I hope people listening got a lot out of it, and we'll be definitely having more like this come in the next few weeks. So keep tuning into our podcast, subscribe to the podcast, share it. Tell your friends, and,
repost it, tweet it. Yeah, real quick. Again, with Creating Crimson, you can follow Creating Crimson on social media. Twitter, we are at Creating Crims. So that's Creating CRIMS and then the number 1. I got to change that. I hate that, but that was the only thing that was available. Anyway, but for Instagram and for Facebook, it's just Creating Crimson. Very simple. So just, you can find us real easy there. And make sure you subscribe, to our mailing list on our websites, creatingcrimson.com. And yours, I always mess up, so I want to make sure you say Making Money in Music Biz.
makingmoneyinthemusicbiz.com.
Yeah, .com. Subscribe to our, because if you become a subscriber, you will automatically get, at least for Creating Crimson, you'll automatically, be able to get these podcasts and so forth. So
yeah, you'll get weekly notifications and everything going out. So you won't be able to miss an episode.
Right. I'm excited. Yeah.
Also, one last thing: if you all have questions or topics that you would like for us to cover in the podcast, definitely send us an email. Let us know what it is that you're having issues with and you want more clarity on. And we will more than likely cover it in the podcast and maybe even give you a shout out.
We will, yes. And so you can email, if you just email info@creatingcrimson.com, I can get it that way. Or you can always just leave a message on our websites. I think both of us have a contact, and we'll get your message that way as well. So.
Perfect. Well, great to have you on, and I'm looking forward to doing this next week.
I am too. All right, you guys be good. Take care.
Take care.